Why Vladimir Putin is so obsessed with military power. One man's humiliation became a nation's obsession. Silenced voices, crushed economies, endless conflict. A secret doctrine controlling every decision. A hidden circle running Russia from the shadows. The one weakness threatening to break it all. But it all traces back to one moment. The shadow of 1991 and imperial nostalgia. In 1991, something huge happened. The Soviet Union, one of the most powerful countries in history, broke apart. For most of the world, this felt like freedom. But for one man watching from East Germany, it felt like losing everything. That man was Vladimir Putin, a young KGB officer at the time. He saw his country's flag come down and its power crumble. He later called it the greatest catastrophe of the century. That single moment planted a seed in his mind, a seed of anger, loss, and revenge. Putin never forgot that humiliation. And decades later, as leader of Russia, he made a quiet promise to himself: rebuild what was lost, no matter the cost. Military power became his tool to erase that shame. But here's the question that still haunts experts today. How far is he willing to go to reverse history? The answer might surprise you.
The Primakov Doctrine and the multipolar world order. Imagine a world where one country doesn't get to make all the rules. That's the idea behind a secret playbook guiding Putin's every move. It's named after a man called Yevgeny Primakov, a former Russian foreign minister. His idea was simple but powerful. The world shouldn't be controlled by just one superpower. Instead, power should be shared among a few giants, and Russia should always have a seat at that table. This idea became the backbone of Russia's entire foreign policy. To Putin, this isn't just politics, it's personal pride. Every troop movement, every show of force, every threat is designed to prove one thing: that Russia can't be ignored or pushed around by the West. But there's a twist. This doctrine demands constant strength, and that means Russia can never afford to look weak, even for a moment. So what happens when strength becomes the only option left?
The encirclement myth and the besieged fortress. Picture living your whole life believing enemies surround you on every side. That's the story Russian leaders have told their people for decades. The Kremlin paints NATO, the Western military alliance, as a dangerous threat creeping closer and closer to Russia's borders. Whether or not that's fully true, this fear became a powerful tool. It's called the besieged fortress mindset, the belief that Russia is always under attack, always in danger, always needing to defend itself. This idea justifies massive military spending and total control over the population. If everyone believes the enemy is at the gate, no one questions why the government spends so much on tanks and missiles instead of hospitals or schools. In 2007, Putin gave a fiery speech blaming the West for global instability. It shocked the world. But it also revealed something deeper. A leader convinced that danger was always just outside the door. The 2008 Georgia wake-up call and the Serdyukov reforms. In 2008, Russia went to war with its small neighbor, Georgia. Russia won easily. But behind the scenes, something troubling was uncovered. Soldiers were using outdated radios. Commanders struggled to talk to each other. Equipment broke down. The war exposed cracks in a military that looked strong on paper, but was falling apart underneath. This was a wake-up call for Putin. He couldn't ignore it. So he brought in a defense minister named Anatoly Serdyukov to fix everything. Old, bulky army divisions were broken down into smaller, faster units. Technology got upgrades. Training changed completely. This wasn't just about winning wars anymore. It was about building a machine that could strike fast and strike hard without warning. It worked in some ways. Russia's military looked more modern, more dangerous. But one question lingered in the shadows. Were these reforms deep enough to fix problems that would resurface later? Weaponized history, Peter the Great and the Sacred Mission. Putin doesn't just see himself as a president. In his mind, he's something bigger, a modern-day version of Russia's legendary emperors. He often compares himself to Peter the Great, the Tsar who expanded Russian territory centuries ago. This isn't just flattery, it's strategy. By connecting himself to Russia's imperial past, Putin frames his military actions as sacred duty, not aggression. Taking land isn't conquest in his story, it's reclaiming what always belonged to Russia. Schoolbooks have been rewritten. Churches and the military have become deeply intertwined, blending religion with national pride. This creates a powerful, almost mythical narrative. Russia isn't just fighting wars, it's fulfilling destiny. For millions of Russians raised on this story, resistance feels like betrayal. But when a leader believes he's living out history's script, where does that story end? Some experts fear the final chapter hasn't been written yet. The rise of the Siloviki, the security elite. Behind Putin sits a powerful inner circle most people rarely hear about, the Siloviki. This word describes former spies, security officers, and military men who now run much of Russia. Unlike the wealthy businessmen who once controlled the country in the 1990s, this new elite comes from intelligence agencies like the FSB, Russia's version of the CIA. Putin himself came from this world, so it's no surprise he surrounds himself with people who think the same way, through the lens of threats, secrets, and control. When your closest advisors are trained to see danger everywhere, guess what kind of decisions get made? Military solutions, not diplomacy, not compromise. This tight circle doesn't just influence war decisions, they control banks, energy companies, and media too. Power isn't shared with outsiders. It stays locked inside this security brotherhood. And that raises a chilling question. Who's really pulling the strings in Russia today?
Nuclear brinksmanship as the ultimate equalizer. Russia's regular army, even after reforms, still can't match the combined strength of NATO countries. So how does Putin level the playing field? With the ultimate trump card, nuclear weapons. Russia holds one of the largest nuclear arsenals on Earth, and Putin isn't shy about reminding the world of that fact. Whenever tensions rise, nuclear threats often follow, even if quietly implied rather than shouted. This is called nuclear brinksmanship, pushing right up to the edge of danger to scare opponents into backing off. It's a strategy built on fear, not war, because using these weapons would be catastrophic for everyone, including Russia. But simply having them and hinting at using them gives Putin enormous leverage on the world stage. It's like holding a loaded gun during a negotiation. You might never pull the trigger, but everyone at the table knows it's there. And that changes everything. Hybrid warfare and the Gerasimov doctrine. Not every battle happens on a battlefield. Some of Russia's most dangerous weapons aren't tanks or missiles at all. They're lies, hackers, and secret agents. This strategy is named after General Valery Gerasimov, and it's called hybrid warfare. The idea is simple but terrifying. Blur the line between war and peace so much that no one even realizes a war is happening. Fake news spreads online to confuse voters. Hackers break into power grids and government systems. Spies sabotage pipelines and railways in foreign countries. None of this looks like traditional war, but the damage is very real. For Putin, a hacked election or a viral conspiracy theory can be just as powerful as an army division. This kind of warfare is quiet, deniable, and incredibly hard to stop. So while the world watches for tanks crossing borders, the real battle might already be happening on your phone screen. Domestic authoritarianism and the mobilization economy. Wars don't just happen far away. They change everything at home, too. For Putin, constant military tension isn't just about fighting enemies abroad. It's also a tool for controlling people inside Russia. When a country feels like it's under attack, citizens are told to stay loyal, stop asking questions, and support their leader no matter what. Journalists who criticize the war get silenced. Protesters get arrested. Anyone who speaks out risks being labeled a traitor. Meanwhile, huge chunks of Russia's economy get redirected toward weapons, tanks, and soldiers instead of hospitals, roads, or schools.
Factories that once made cars now build military equipment. This creates something scary, a country that depends on war just to keep its own government in power. As long as there's a war to fight, dissent can be crushed in the name of national unity. But what happens to a nation that forgets how to live without conflict? The structural failures of hyper-militarism. After all the money, the reforms, and the propaganda, you'd expect Russia's military to be nearly unstoppable. But reality tells a different story. During the long, grinding invasion of Ukraine, deep cracks began to show. Corruption drained funds meant for real equipment. Rigid, top-down commands slowed decisions that needed split-second timing. Supply lines broke down, leaving soldiers without proper food, fuel, or ammunition. The very system Putin built to control everything, total loyalty, total secrecy, zero criticism, became its own worst enemy. Nobody dared tell the truth about failures, so problems just kept growing unseen. It's a strange twist of fate. The same iron grip that keeps Putin in power is the exact thing crippling his war machine on the ground. Experts call this the ultimate paradox of authoritarian militarism. And it leaves one haunting question hanging over everything. Can a system built on fear ever truly win a long war?
So there it is, the real story behind Putin's war machine. From Soviet shame to nuclear threats, from ancient czars to hidden hackers, one truth stands clear. Russian military power was never just about weapons. It's about pride, fear, and control. Understanding Putin's war strategy means understanding a man haunted by history and driven by geopolitical ambitions few truly grasp. This military buildup shapes the world today, whether we notice it or not. So the real question remains, how far will this obsession with power actually go? Only time will tell.